Welcome to Wealth Wisdom Daily, the channel where money is not just earned, it's multiplied. Here, we don't talk about chasing paychecks. We talk about building cash flow, creating freedom, and making your money work harder than you do. Because wealth isn't about how much you make, it's about how much keeps coming in, month after month, without you lifting a finger. In today's video, we're breaking down one brutal truth. Poor people accumulate bills, rich people accumulate cash flow. If every time your income goes up, your bills go up with it, you're not richer, you're just more expensive to keep alive. But if every raise, every bonus, every extra dollar is turned into a new stream of income, you unlock the real game of wealth, where your lifestyle grows slower than your money. Get ready, because what you're about to hear could be the mindset shift that saves you decades of financial struggle. The harsh truth about rich and poor. Most people believe the difference between rich and poor is about income. If you make more money, you'll eventually become wealthy, right? The truth is far more brutal. Two people can earn the exact same salary, live in the same city, and start from similar circumstances. After 10 years, one is financially free while the other is drowning in debt and stress. The difference is not in their paycheck, but in how they treat every additional dollar that enters their lives. The average person thinks of income as the primary solution to their financial struggles. If I just get a raise, if I just land that better job, if I can just hit 6 figures, then I'll be fine. But here's the trap. As soon as income rises, spending rises too. The bigger paycheck becomes a bigger house, a newer car, more expensive clothes, more nights out, more subscriptions, more vacations. Your cost of staying alive, your bills, climbs in lockstep with your earnings. You might feel richer, but you're just making your lifestyle more expensive to maintain. This pattern has a name: lifestyle creep. It's the silent killer of wealth. It doesn't feel dangerous at first. In fact, it often feels like a reward for your hard work. Friends encourage you, social media celebrates you, and you feel like you deserve the upgrades. But every time you commit to a bigger expense, you make a trade. You get short-term enjoyment, but you lose long-term freedom. Meanwhile, the wealthy play an entirely different game. When they earn more, they don't rush to upgrade their visible lifestyle. They upgrade their income streams. That extra $1,000 a month, it doesn't go toward a car payment. It goes into assets that produce more income: a rental property, dividend-paying stocks, royalties from creative work, or a small business venture. They feed cash flow, not bills. Over time, this creates a snowball effect. Their income grows faster than their expenses, and eventually their expenses are fully covered by passive income. At that point, they can choose to work or not, and their lifestyle is sustained without fear. Here's a way to picture it. Bills are buckets with holes in them. The more water, money you pour in, the faster it leaks out. Cash flow is owning the water source. You're not worried about the size of the bucket. You're focused on making sure the tap never stops running. Poor and middle-class people spend their lives trying to get bigger buckets. Rich people spend their lives building more taps. And here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of people who look rich are broke. They drive luxury cars, live in expensive neighborhoods, and post glamorous vacation photos online. But they're one missed paycheck away from panic. Behind the scenes, their financial lives are fragile. On the other hand, there are quiet millionaires living in modest homes, driving reliable but unremarkable cars, wearing simple clothes, and putting most of their energy into building streams of income. They're not flashy, they don't need to be. They're free because their money works harder than they do. Let's compare two real scenarios. Person A earns $80,000 a year. They rent a stylish apartment, dine out frequently, and drive a car with a $700 monthly payment. Every time they get a raise, they upgrade something: a bigger apartment, a newer car, more travel. After 10 years, their salary has grown to $120,000 a year. On paper, they should be thriving, but their expenses have grown in perfect sync with their income, leaving them still living paycheck to paycheck. Person B also earns $80,000 a year, but when they get their first raise, they resist the urge to upgrade everything. They keep living in the same apartment, driving the same car, and instead invest the difference in index funds, a small business, or a rental property. After 10 years, their salary has also grown to $120,000 a year, but now they also earn $50,000 annually in passive income from their investments. Their bills haven't inflated to match their income, and they could walk away from their job tomorrow without fear. The difference between person A and person B isn't intelligence, luck, or even opportunity. It's mindset. One chose to accumulate bills, the other chose to accumulate cash flow. And that brings us to the central truth of this entire lesson. Bills drain. Cash flow fuels. Bills are obligations. They take money out of your pocket every month, whether you're ready or not. They never stop, they only grow. Cash flow is income that comes in without you having to constantly trade hours for it. Once your cash flow exceeds your bills, you're free. The gap between the two is your safety, your opportunity, and your power. Every raise, every bonus, every unexpected payment you receive is a fork in the road. Down one path, you add more bills, another subscription, another payment plan, another commitment that keeps you chained to your job. Down the other path, you add more cash flow, something that will continue to pay you long after the initial effort is done. One path leads to a heavier burden, the other leads to lightness, flexibility, and choice. The key insight here is that wealth is not about deprivation. It's not about living a joyless life while hoarding every cent. The rich still upgrade their lifestyles, but they do it in a specific order. They wait until their cash flow can pay for the upgrade without touching their main income. That's why when a wealthy person buys a luxury car, it's often with money generated by investments, not from their paycheck. Their assets bought the car, not their labor. When you think this way, every financial decision changes. You stop asking, "Can I afford the monthly payment?" and start asking, "Will this payment make me richer or poorer?" You stop measuring success by the size of your salary and start measuring it by the size of your cash flow. You realize that income without discipline is just a faster way to stay broke. Here's the takeaway. The gap between rich and poor is not in the paycheck, it's in the pattern. Poor people accumulate bills. Rich people accumulate cash flow. If you want to change your financial destiny, you don't need to win the lottery or inherit a fortune. You need to change what you do with the very next dollar you earn. Make it work for you. Make it bring friends. Feed the tap, not the bucket. The lifestyle creep that kills financial freedom. If there's one silent, almost invisible enemy to your financial freedom, it's lifestyle creep. You won't hear it coming. It doesn't knock at the door or announce itself. In fact, it often disguises itself as progress, success, and even self-care. It arrives in the form of rewards you give yourself when your income goes up. The new apartment, the upgraded car, the better phone, the weekend getaways. It feels good in the moment, but over time, it traps you in a cycle where your cost of living rises in lockstep with your income. This is how so many people manage to earn more and more over the years, yet never feel free. Lifestyle creep is exactly what it sounds like. Your lifestyle creeps upward slowly, and often without much thought. You tell yourself, "It's just a small upgrade," or "I deserve this." But each new expense becomes a recurring commitment. That $20 a month subscription, the $50 bump in your phone bill, the $400 higher rent, they don't seem like much individually. Together, they become a chain around your finances. And because these upgrades feel like the natural reward for your hard work, most people never question them until they're stuck. Why lifestyle creep is so dangerous. The single most important resource you have for building wealth is the gap between your income and your expenses. That surplus is your fuel. It's the money you can invest, the money you can use to generate more income. Lifestyle creep quietly eats that surplus until there's nothing left. When the surplus is gone, the only way to create more is either to earn more or cut back drastically. And cutting back is far more painful after you've gotten used to the upgrades. Once you've normalized a higher standard of living, going backward feels like failure. Moving into a smaller home, driving an older car, or dining out less often doesn't just feel like a change, it feels like a loss. That's why lifestyle creep is so powerful. It makes reversals emotionally difficult. You become locked into a certain level of spending, even if your income changes. And it's not just about comfort. Higher expenses mean you need to maintain or even increase your income just to survive. The more your lifestyle inflates, the more dependent you become on your current job, your current salary, and your current level of performance. Your freedom shrinks even as your income grows. The psychology behind it. Lifestyle creep feeds on 3 psychological triggers. The reward mentality. You work hard so you believe you've earned the right to spend more. There's nothing wrong with rewarding yourself, but the danger is in turning that reward into a long-term expense. Social comparison. Humans are wired to compare themselves to others. When you see friends or colleagues upgrading their homes, cars, and vacations, you feel pressure to keep up, even if their upgrades are financed by debt. And the new normal effect. Once you've experienced a certain level of comfort or luxury, it quickly becomes your baseline. What once felt special now feels ordinary, and you need even bigger upgrades to feel the same excitement. These 3 forces make lifestyle creep feel natural, even justified. They keep you from seeing the trap until you're already inside it. The illusion of affordability. One of the most dangerous lies people tell themselves is, "I can afford it." What they mean is, "I can make the monthly payment." But affordability isn't about making a payment this month. It's about whether that payment helps you move closer to freedom or deeper into dependence. Rich people don't just ask, "Can I afford this?" They ask, "Will this pay me back?" If the answer is no, they hesitate. That's why they can seem cautious or even boring in their spending. They're protecting the gap between income and expenses like it's sacred. They know that gap is where wealth is born. A tale of 2 pay raises. Let's say 2 people each get a $10,000 raise this year. Person A immediately upgrades to a bigger apartment, increasing their rent by $800 a month, and starts leasing a luxury car for $600 a month. Between these 2 changes, their new expenses are higher than their raise. Within months, the raise is gone, and so is any chance to save more. Person B keeps their living situation and car the same. They invest the $10,000 into dividend stocks that yield 4% a year. That's $400 of passive income annually. It's not life-changing yet, but if they keep doing it, in a decade, they could have tens of thousands in investments producing thousands a year in income. Person A feels richer, but is actually more trapped. Person B feels no immediate difference in lifestyle, but is building a foundation for real freedom. The slow, silent growth of expenses. Lifestyle creep doesn't always happen in big leaps. It's often a series of small, easy-to-justify decisions. Upgrading your phone every year instead of every 3 years. Choosing the premium package instead of the basic. Adding more streaming services just in case. Buying brand new furniture instead of keeping what works. These tiny decisions rarely feel dangerous in isolation, but together they create a constant upward pull on your expenses. And because they happen gradually, you almost never feel the shift until your budget is tight again, even at a higher income. The long-term cost. The most destructive thing about lifestyle creep is what it costs you in the long run. Every dollar you commit to a bill is a dollar that can't be invested. And every dollar that isn't invested is a dollar that can't grow, multiply, and work for you. Over decades, the lost growth from lifestyle creep can be enormous. If you invest $500 a month for 30 years at an average 8% return, you'll end up with about $745,000. If lifestyle creep eats that $500 a month, you'll end up with zero. The math is that simple and that brutal. Breaking the cycle. Escaping lifestyle creep doesn't mean living like a monk. It means creating a rule. You only upgrade your lifestyle when your cash flow, your passive income, can pay for it without touching your main salary. If you want a nicer car, let your investments buy it. If you want a bigger house, let your rental income pay the mortgage. In this way, every lifestyle upgrade becomes permanent because it's funded by assets, not labor. You're not working harder to pay for it. Your money is. The real freedom test. Here's a simple test to see if lifestyle creep has taken hold of your life. If your main source of income disappeared tomorrow, how long could you maintain your current lifestyle without making major cuts? If the answer is a few months or less, lifestyle creep has already stolen your freedom. If the answer is forever, you've mastered the game because your lifestyle is fully supported by cash flow. Lifestyle creep is seductive because it feels like progress. But real progress is when your bills grow slower than your income and your income grows from multiple sources, not just your job. The sooner you see the trap, the sooner you can step out of it and start building a life where every raise, every bonus, and every extra dollar moves you closer to independence instead of deeper into chains. The mindset differences between the poor and the rich. Money doesn't just live in your bank account, it lives in your mind first. Before you can hold wealth in your hands, you have to hold the right beliefs in your head. And this is where the gap between the poor and the rich becomes the widest, not in the paycheck, but in the mindset. It's easy to assume that rich people think the same way as everyone else, just with more zeros in their bank accounts. But that's not true. The rich operate from an entirely different set of mental rules, shaped by their priorities, their understanding of risk, and their long-term vision. The poor and middle class, on the other hand, often run on a set of beliefs about money that keep them trapped, even when their income rises. If you want to escape financial struggle, you can't just copy the actions of the rich. You have to adopt their thinking. Because actions come from beliefs, and beliefs come from mindset. Change the way you think, and you'll change the way you act with money forever. Rule number 1. Poor people think about income. Rich people think about assets. For most people, the goal is a higher salary. They measure success by the size of their paycheck. They celebrate promotions, bonuses, and raises because it means more money coming in right now. But for the rich, income alone isn't enough. What matters is where the income comes from. A salary depends on your time and labor. Assets generate income whether you're working or not. The rich focus on buying and building assets, real estate, businesses, stocks, intellectual property, because assets create cash flow that outlives the hours they can personally work. Poor people ask, "How much do you make?" Rich people ask, "What do you own that makes money for you?" That single shift changes everything, because the rich know that if they lose their job tomorrow, their assets will keep paying them. Rule number 2. Poor people see money as something to spend. Rich people see money as something to multiply. To the poor and middle class, money is for covering needs, buying comfort, and enjoying life right now. If there's extra, it often goes toward upgrades, vacations, or toys. In other words, they see money as a tool for spending. The The rich see money as a seed. Every dollar is a potential worker that can be sent out to earn more dollars. They measure money not by what it can buy today, but by what it can produce over time. This is why a wealthy person might invest $10,000 in a business instead of buying a new car, because they know that business could produce $50,000 over the next 5 years, which could then buy the car and more. This mindset forces the rich to delay certain pleasures, not because they can't afford them, but because they want their money to grow first. Once it's multiplied, they can buy luxuries without touching their principal wealth. Rule number 3. Poor people avoid risk. Rich people manage risk. One of the biggest mental divides between the rich and the poor is how they think about risk. Poor and middle-class people often fear losing money so much that they avoid opportunities altogether. They keep their savings in low-interest accounts, avoid investments they don't understand, and stick to what feels safe, even if it barely grows their wealth. The rich understand that some level of risk is unavoidable if you want growth. The key is not to avoid risk entirely, but to manage it intelligently. They educate themselves before investing, they diversify their income streams, and they calculate the downside before committing. To them, doing nothing with money is often the biggest risk of all, because inflation and lost opportunity can quietly eat away at wealth. Rule number 5. Poor people think short-term, rich people think long-term. When you're in financial survival mode, it's natural to focus on the next paycheck, the next bill, the next month. But this short-term focus prevents you from making moves that pay off in years instead of days. Rich people make decisions based on how they'll play out over decades. They invest knowing that the real payoff might not come for 5, 10, or even 20 years. They understand the power of compounding and the exponential growth that comes with patience. This long-term mindset also means they're less reactive to market swings, bad months, or temporary losses. They see the bigger picture, which gives them the confidence to stay invested while others panic. Rule number 6. Poor people let lifestyle drive spending. Rich people let cash flow drive lifestyle. Poor and middle-class people often let their desires set their budget. If they want something, they figure out how to fit the payment into their current income, even if it means stretching their finances thin. Rich people flip the equation. They let their passive income dictate what they can comfortably afford without touching their core wealth. If they want a luxury car, they buy it when their investments produce enough monthly cash to cover the payment. This way, their lifestyle upgrades don't threaten their financial stability. They enhance it. Rule number 7. Poor people chase appearances. Rich people build substance. Poor and middle-class people often feel the need to look successful. Designer clothes, high-end gadgets, flashy vacations. These signals of wealth are expensive and fleeting. Rich people focus on building real wealth first, then upgrading their image later if they choose. They understand that no one cares what car you drive if you're financially independent, and that pretending to be rich before you are is one of the fastest ways to stay poor. Rule number 8. Poor people think in terms of limits. Rich people think in terms of leverage. Poor and middle-class people focus on what they can't do because of their current income, job, or situation. They see money as finite and themselves as stuck within fixed boundaries. Rich people think about how to use what they have to access more. They look for leverage, using other people's money, time, skills, or systems to multiply their results. This turns limitations into starting points for creativity and growth. Mindset is the foundation. Without it, higher income just leads to higher expenses. With it, even a modest income can be transformed into lasting wealth. If you truly want to cross the gap from struggling to free, you have to stop thinking like someone who works for money and start thinking like someone who makes money work for them. Once you make that mental shift, every decision, from how you spend your next $100 to how you plan the next decade, will change. And that's when the actions of the rich will make sense, because they'll be your actions too.
Bills, the silent wealth killer. We talk a lot about debt as the enemy of wealth,
But there's another, quieter enemy that drains your future just as effectively: bills. They don't come with the stigma of debt. They don't carry the same emotional weight as owing someone money on a credit card. But make no mistake, bills are obligations. They are financial handcuffs disguised as everyday life. And over time, they can bleed you dry without you even realizing it. The dangerous thing about bills is that they feel normal. They arrive every month like clockwork, and paying them becomes such a routine that you barely think about it. Rent or mortgage, utilities, internet, phone, insurance, subscriptions, car payments, the list goes on. It feels like the natural cost of living. But each bill is a contract you've made to keep giving your money to someone else, month after month, often for years. The hidden weight of recurring payments. When you agree to a recurring payment, you're not just committing for 1 month, you're locking in a portion of your future income. A $200 a month subscription might seem small, but over 5 years, that's $12,000 gone. Money that could have been invested, multiplied, and used to create cash flow. Instead, it's gone forever, paying for something that probably loses value the moment you use it. Poor and middle-class people often see bills as unavoidable, even unchangeable. That's just what life costs. But the rich see bills differently. They know that each recurring payment is a leak in their financial system, and the fewer leaks they have, the faster their wealth can grow. Bills versus assets. Here's the simplest way to think about it. Bills take money out of your pocket. Assets put money in. Every time you add a new bill, you've increased the amount of cash flow you need just to stay in place. And here's the problem. Most people keep adding bills faster than they add assets. This is why so many people feel like they're running in place. They work harder, earn more, maybe even get a side hustle going, but their bills rise just as fast, canceling out the progress. It's like running on a treadmill that speeds up every time you start to catch your breath. The just one more trap. One of the most dangerous mindsets with bills is thinking it's just one more subscription, one more monthly payment, one more small expense. But bills are cumulative. Each one might be manageable on its own, but together they can consume your entire income. Let's say you have 10 recurring bills, each costing $100 a month. That's $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, gone before you even start buying groceries or saving for the future. Add in bigger commitments like housing, car payments, and insurance, and it's easy to see why so many people struggle to get ahead. Why bills are more dangerous than one-time purchases. A one-time expense hurts once. A bill hurts forever. If you buy a $1,000 TV, you feel it in that moment, but it's over. If you lease a $50,000 car for $700 a month, you're committing to years of payments, plus insurance, maintenance, and registration that will drain tens of thousands from your future. Bills reduce flexibility. The more monthly obligations you have, the fewer options you have if your income changes. They tie you to your current income level, your current job, your current lifestyle. That's why people with high bills often feel trapped, even if they're earning a good salary. The rich person's view of bills. Wealthy people are not allergic to spending, but they are strategic about bills. They ask one simple question before committing: will this bill pay me back? If the answer is no, they think twice. They might still choose to take on the bill, but they make sure it's backed by cash flow. For example, a wealthy person might buy an investment property with a mortgage payment of $1,500 a month. But if that property rents for $2,000 a month, the bill is covered by the asset. The expense is offset by income, making it a neutral or positive bill. The poor and middle class do the opposite. They take on bills that have no income attached, car loans, luxury rentals, endless subscriptions, and then wonder why their bank account never grows. How to audit your bills. If you want to escape the trap, you need to know exactly where your money is going. Most people underestimate how much they spend on recurring payments. Start by making a complete list of every bill you pay each month: housing, utilities, insurance, loans, subscriptions, memberships, everything. Then ask 3 questions for each. Do I need this to survive or earn money? Could I get the same benefit for less? Can I replace this bill with an asset that pays for it? You'll be shocked at how many bills are optional or overpriced. Canceling even a few can free up hundreds of dollars a month, money that can be redirected into building cash flow. The bills first budget problem. Most people budget by starting with their bills. They take their income, subtract all fixed expenses, then see what's left for saving or investing. This approach guarantees you'll stay stuck, because bills always expand to consume the space available. The rich flip the order. They fund their investments and savings first, then decide how much they can afford in bills. This forces them to keep their obligations low and their wealth building on track. Breaking free from the bill cycle. Escaping the grip of bills isn't about eliminating them completely. That's unrealistic. It's about reducing them to the point where they're easily covered by your cash flow. When your passive income equals or exceeds your monthly bills, you are financially free. You could quit your job, travel, or change careers without fear because your obligations are already taken care of. The less you owe each month, the less cash flow you need to reach freedom. This is why many wealthy people live below their means even when they don't have to. They know that the fastest way to win the game is to reduce the target. Bills are a choice. The most liberating mindset shift you can make is realizing that most bills are choices, not necessities. You choose the house you live in, the car you drive, the subscriptions you pay for. Every choice either moves you closer to financial independence or keeps you chained to your job. When you start treating bills as strategic decisions instead of automatic obligations, you take back control. You stop being the servant of your lifestyle and start being the architect of it. Bills are the silent wealth killer because they don't scream for your attention. They quietly take your money month after month, leaving you with less to invest, less to save, and less to enjoy in the future. The sooner you identify and control them, the sooner you can redirect that money toward assets, and the sooner you can build a life where your bills are paid by your investments, not your labor. Cash flow, the engine of wealth acceleration. If bills are the silent killer of wealth, then cash flow is its life force. It's the oxygen that allows your financial life to grow stronger, faster, and more resilient. Without it, you're stuck in survival mode, constantly relying on your next paycheck to keep the lights on. With it, you can build a self-sustaining system where money flows in even when you're not actively working. Cash flow is the steady, predictable stream of income that arrives whether you clock in or not. It's the rent check from a property you own. It's the dividend payment from your stock portfolio. It's the royalty from a book you wrote or a song you created. It's the monthly revenue from a business that runs without your constant involvement. Cash flow is not about one-time windfalls. It's about consistent, repeatable income that keeps showing up. Why is cash flow more powerful than salary? A salary stops the moment you stop working. Cash flow doesn't. That's the fundamental difference. When all your income comes from active labor, you're tied to your job. Your ability to pay your bills depends on your ability to keep showing up and trading time for money. That's why losing a job or facing a health crisis can be financially devastating to someone with no cash flow. But when you have cash flow, you've created a safety net. Even if you lose your primary job, you still have income coming in. The more cash flow you have, the less vulnerable you are to life's uncertainties. And once your cash flow exceeds your bills, you're free, not because you have millions in the bank, but because your lifestyle is funded without your labor. The compound effect of cash flow. The beauty of cash flow is that it can be reinvested to create even more cash flow. Let's say you own a small rental property that brings in $500 a month after expenses. You could spend that money, or you could save it to buy another property. That second property might bring in another $500 a month. Now you have $1,000 in monthly cash flow, which means you can save for the third property even faster. Over time, the snowball grows and your wealth accelerates. This compounding effect is why the rich get richer. They don't just earn more, they take the extra and put it into income-producing assets, which create even more income, which they then reinvest. It's a cycle of growth that speeds up the longer you stay in it. Types of cash flow. Cash flow can come from many sources. The more you diversify, the more stable your financial life becomes. Here are the main types. Rental income, from residential or commercial properties. Business income, from companies you own that operate without your daily involvement. Dividend income, from shares in profitable companies. Royalty income, from creative works like books, music, or inventions. Interest income, from lending money or holding interest-bearing assets. Digital assets, from online products, courses, or automated services. Each has its pros and cons, but they all share one thing in common. They put money in your pocket without requiring you to directly trade time for it. Cash flow versus capital gains. Many people confuse cash flow with capital gains. Capital gains are profits from selling an asset for more than you paid for it. For example, if you buy a stock for $50 and sell it for $80, the $30 profit is a capital gain. Cash flow, on the other hand, is money you receive while still holding the asset, like a dividend from that same stock. Both are valuable, but cash flow has a unique advantage. It doesn't require selling your assets. You keep your wealth intact while still enjoying the benefits. The mindset shift. Cash flow first. Most people design their financial lives around income from work. The rich design theirs around cash flow. This shift changes how you see every dollar you earn. Instead of asking, "What can I buy with this?" you start asking, "How can I turn this into ongoing income?" This is why wealthy people often appear cheap in the early stages of building wealth. They're not interested in spending their extra income on things that don't produce more income. They know that once their cash flow is strong enough, they can buy anything they want without jeopardizing their financial stability. Cash flow as security. Imagine two people both earning $100,000 a year. Person A has no cash flow. If they lose their job, they have zero income. Person B has $4,000 a month in cash flow from investments. If they lose their job, they still have $48,000 a year coming in. Who's truly more secure? The answer is obvious. Salary alone is fragile. Cash flow is durable. Cash flow as freedom. The ultimate goal of cash flow isn't just survival, it's freedom. When your investments generate more than enough to cover your expenses, you get to decide what to do with your time. You can work because you want to, not because you have to. You can take risks, start new ventures, or travel the world without worrying about how to pay the bills. Freedom isn't a number in a bank account. It's a flow of money that continues whether you're at your desk or on a beach. The cash flow formula. While the specifics vary depending on your situation, the basic formula for building cash flow is simple. Earn from your job, business, or side hustle. Save, keep your expenses below your income to create surplus capital. Invest, put that surplus into income-producing assets. Reinvest, use the income from those assets to buy more assets. Repeat. Keep the cycle going until your cash flow covers all your expenses. It's simple in theory, but requires discipline in practice. The challenge is resisting the temptation to spend your surplus on things that feel good now but don't generate income later. protecting your cash flow. Once you have cash flow, your job is to protect it. That means diversifying your income sources so you're not dependent on a single stream. It means having insurance and emergency funds to shield your assets from unexpected events. And it means regularly reviewing your investments to ensure they're still producing. The rich don't just build cash flow, they defend it. They treat it like a living thing that needs to be fed, nurtured, and guarded. The cash flow mindset in action. Here's what the cash flow mindset looks like in real life. Before buying a $5,000 vacation, you ask, could I use this money to buy an asset that pays for my vacations every year? Before upgrading your car, you ask, could I invest in something that produces enough to cover a car payment indefinitely? Before committing to a new bill, you ask, can my existing cash flow pay for this without touching my salary? This approach transforms how you handle money. Every decision becomes an opportunity to either strengthen or weaken your financial engine. Cash flow is the engine of wealth acceleration because it creates a self-sustaining loop. The more you have, the more you can reinvest. The more you reinvest, the faster you grow. And the faster you grow, the sooner you reach the point where your money works harder than you ever could. In the next part, we'll explore exactly how to feed the right side of your balance sheet, the assets, so that your cash flow becomes unstoppable. Because once you understand how to make money flow in, you can finally stop worrying about the money flowing out. The feed assets, not bills philosophy. Most people don't realize that their money has only two possible destinations. It either goes to feed bills or to feed assets. One makes you poorer over time. The other makes you wealthier. And the choice between the two is made with every paycheck, every bonus, every windfall, whether you notice it or not. The problem is, our society is built to encourage feeding bills. Advertisements, peer pressure, and even the way most people budget are designed to get you to commit to more monthly obligations. A new phone? That's just $30 a month. A new car? Only $499 a month. A subscription package with all the must-have features? Just $19.99. The numbers are small enough to feel harmless, but they add up to a lifetime of feeding bills while starving your assets. The wealthy take the opposite approach. They make it a rule. Any money left over after necessities is first directed toward assets. Assets are the only things that will eventually free them from working for money. By feeding assets, they grow streams of cash flow that can later pay for luxuries, upgrades, and lifestyle improvements without touching their principal wealth or their core income. Why feeding bills is a trap. Bills are hungry creatures. Once you take one on, it keeps eating your income month after month, whether you're making more money or not. And unlike assets, bills have no loyalty. They don't care if you're sick, if you lose your job, or if your income drops. They just keep demanding payment. Every time you feed bills instead of assets, you're strengthening the chains that tie you to your job. You're committing your future time and energy to someone else's profit. That $200 a month car upgrade? That's $2,400 a year you can't invest. Over 10 years, that's $24,000, and that's without even calculating the lost growth if that money had been invested instead. Why feeding assets is the key to freedom. Assets are the opposite of bills. Instead of taking money from you, they give money to you. They work quietly in the background, producing income whether you're paying attention or not. And unlike bills, which stop giving value the moment you stop paying, assets keep paying even after you've covered their cost. Feeding assets first creates a powerful snowball effect. Each asset you acquire produces cash flow, which can then be used to buy more assets, which produce more cash flow, and so on. Over time, your assets can grow large enough to feed your lifestyle entirely, allowing you to stop working for money and start working for purpose. how the rich decide where money goes. When a wealthy person gets extra income, a bonus, a raise, a business profit, their first thought isn't, "What can I buy?" but "What can I build?" They see each dollar as a potential worker. If that worker is sent to feed bills, it's gone forever. If that worker is sent to feed assets, it can start producing more workers, who will in turn produce even more. This is why wealthy people often delay lifestyle upgrades. It's not because they don't want nice things, they do, but they want those nice things to be bought by their assets, not by their labor. They'd rather wait a few years to let their investments grow than spend now and slow down their path to freedom. A practical example. Let's say you get a $500 a month raise. If you feed bills, you might upgrade your car, move to a bigger apartment, or sign up for premium subscriptions. Now your raise is gone, and you've locked yourself into higher expenses. If your income drops, you'll struggle to cover them. If you feed assets, you invest the $500 every month into a dividend-paying index fund yielding 5% annually. After 1 year, you're earning $300 a year in passive income. After 10 years, with growth and compounding, that could be thousands per year. And that income will continue for life without you lifting a finger. The asset first rule. The simplest way to apply this philosophy is to make an unbreakable rule. Any increase in income goes to assets before anything else. If your salary goes up, your bills should not. If you get a tax refund, it goes into investments. If you make extra money from a side hustle, it's reinvested. Over time, this habit becomes second nature. You stop seeing extra income as spending money and start seeing it as freedom fuel. Balancing enjoyment and growth. Feeding assets doesn't mean you can never enjoy your money. It means you prioritize growth before gratification. You can still take vacations, buy new gadgets, or enjoy fine dining, but you do it from the income your assets generate, not from your core paycheck. This way, your lifestyle upgrades are sustainable because they don't threaten your financial foundation. From feeding assets to feeding lifestyle. The beauty of this approach is that it flips the way most people live. Instead of working to pay bills and hoping there's something left over for investing, you invest first and let your investments pay your bills. At first, it feels slow. But after a few years, you realize that your cash flow covers more and more of your expenses. Eventually, your assets feed your lifestyle entirely, allowing you to stop working for money and start working for purpose. The simple question to ask before every expense. Before committing to any new expense, ask yourself, does this take money out of my pocket every month or put money into it? If it takes money out, it's a bill. If it puts money in, it's an asset. The more you can tilt your finances toward the second category, the faster you'll escape the trap. Feeding assets instead of bills isn't just a financial tactic, it's a philosophy of life. It's the decision to prioritize freedom over immediate gratification, to plant seeds that will grow into trees that feed you for decades. Once you make it your default habit, wealth stops being something you chase and starts being something that grows naturally around you. Strategy number 1. Keep lifestyle growth slower than income growth. If there is one simple, practical rule that can single-handedly change your financial future, it's this. Make sure your lifestyle grows slower than your income. It sounds obvious, but very few people actually do it. In fact, most do the exact opposite. The moment they get a raise, a bonus, or any increase in income, they immediately upgrade their lifestyle to match, sometimes even exceeding the raise with new bills and obligations. This is how people can make more money every year, yet still feel like they're always just getting by. The key to wealth is creating and protecting a gap. The gap between what you earn and what you spend. That gap is the fuel for investments, the seed for cash flow, and the space that allows you to breathe financially. If your lifestyle grows slower than your income, that gap will widen over time. If your lifestyle grows faster than your income, the gap will shrink and eventually disappear. Why this strategy works. When your expenses grow slower than your income, you create an ever-increasing surplus. That surplus can be directed toward assets, which then create cash flow, which further increases your surplus. Over time, the compounding effect becomes unstoppable. Think of your financial life like a balloon. Income is the air going in. Expenses are the leaks. If you keep the leaks small, the balloon fills up. If you make new holes every time you pump in more air, the balloon never gets bigger. The raise rule. Here's a simple application. When you get a raise, commit to keeping at least 70% of it for building wealth. That means if you get a $1,000 a month raise, you allow yourself to spend no more than $300 of it on lifestyle upgrades, while the remaining $700 goes into investments. This way, you still enjoy some improvement in your lifestyle so you don't feel deprived, but you also supercharge your path to financial freedom. The poor and middle class typically do the reverse. They spend 110% of a raise, using it as an excuse to finance even bigger commitments. The lifestyle delay technique. Wealthy people often use a tactic I call the lifestyle delay. When their income increases, they deliberately delay upgrading their lifestyle for several years. Instead, they channel the entire increase into investments. For example, someone earning $60,000 a year might get promoted to $80,000. Instead of immediately moving to a bigger apartment or buying a nicer car, they live as if they still make $60,000 and invest the extra $20,000 annually. Over 5 years, that's $100,000 invested, enough to produce significant cash flow that can then fund permanent lifestyle upgrades without risk. Avoiding the comparison trap. One of the biggest challenges to keeping lifestyle growth in check is social comparison. When friends or colleagues upgrade their homes, cars, or wardrobes, you might feel pressure to do the same. This is where you have to remember your bigger goal: financial independence. The truth is, many people you're tempted to keep up with are financing their upgrades with debt and living on the edge financially. You don't see the credit card balances, the sleepless nights, and the stress. You only see the image they present. Competing in that game is a losing strategy. Real-world example. 2 colleagues both earn $70,000. They each get a $10,000 raise. Colleague A immediately moves into a more expensive apartment and buys a new car. The raise is gone, and their savings rate stays the same. Colleague B keeps the same apartment and car, invests $8,000 of the raise, and allows $2,000 for small lifestyle improvements. After 10 years, colleague B's investments could be producing thousands in passive income, potentially enough to cover their entire rent, while colleague A is still dependent on their job for every dollar. Dealing with lifestyle temptations. Temptations will always be there. Sales, limited time offers, you deserve it marketing. The easiest way to resist is to decide in advance how much of any income increase you will allow yourself to spend. If the number is set ahead of time, the decision is made before the temptation even appears. Another tactic is to link upgrades to asset performance. For example, I'll buy that car when my investments produce $500 a month in extra income. This turns a desire into a motivator for building assets instead of a drain on your resources. The freedom multiplier. Every year you hold your lifestyle growth below your income growth, you multiply your freedom. If you keep expenses flat for 5 years while your income grows, the surplus you generate in that time could be enough to buy assets that cover your bills forever. The opposite is also true. If your lifestyle grows faster than your income, you multiply your dependency. Even a small slowdown in earnings or an unexpected expense can send you into debt. Keeping lifestyle growth slower than your income growth is about playing the long game. It's about sacrificing a little excitement now for decades of peace, freedom, and choice later. Once you've experienced the security of knowing your bills are covered by cash flow, you'll realize that no short-term upgrade is worth sacrificing that feeling. Strategy number 2. Turn every income increase into a new stream of cash flow. There's a common pattern in how most people handle an increase in income. Whether it's a raise, a bonus, a tax refund, or an unexpected windfall, they spend it. Sometimes they spend it instantly. Sometimes they commit it to a new monthly bill. Either way, the money disappears into lifestyle upgrades, and within weeks or months, their financial situation feels exactly the same as before. The rich handle income increases differently. For them, an increase in income is not permission to spend more. It's an opportunity to build another stream of cash flow. Every raise, every bonus, every extra dollar is directed into something that will pay them again and again in the future. This is how the wealthy build multiple income streams over time. They don't rely on one source of cash flow. They use each income increase as a chance to add another source. Over years, these streams combine into rivers and eventually into an ocean of financial freedom. Why this strategy works? When you turn income increases into cash flow, you create a permanent improvement in your finances instead of a temporary one. A raise spent on lifestyle only benefits you until the next bill comes due. A raise invested into an income-producing asset benefits you indefinitely. This is the difference between eating your seeds and planting them. The poor and middle class often eat the seeds, spending the extra income now and hoping for more seeds later. The rich plant their seeds in fertile ground, letting them grow into trees that produce fruit for years to come. A simple example. Let's say you receive a $5,000 raise at work. The typical approach, you upgrade your phone, buy a nicer TV, and start dining out more often. Within months, the extra money is gone and your expenses are permanently higher. The wealth-building approach. You invest that $5,000 into a dividend-paying stock portfolio. At a 5% yield, that's $250 a year in passive income. You reinvest that income, and over time, it compounds. Eventually, that single raise could produce thousands of dollars in income long after the raise itself has been forgotten. The rule of conversion. Here's a practical rule you can adopt. Every time your income goes up, convert at least 80% of that increase into a cash flow source before you spend a single dollar on lifestyle. If you get a $10,000 raise, $8,000 should go toward assets, rental property, dividend stocks, a small business, peer-to-peer lending, digital products, anything that generates ongoing income. The remaining $2,000 can go toward enjoying your life right now. This keeps you motivated while still accelerating your path to freedom. Sources of new cash flow. When you commit to this strategy, you'll need to know where to put the money. Some proven options include real estate rentals, residential or commercial properties that produce monthly rent, dividend stocks, shares in companies that pay regular dividends, REITs, real estate investment trusts for those who don't want to manage property directly, online businesses, e-commerce stores, digital products, subscription services, creative royalties, books, courses, music, photography, private lending, earning interest from individuals or businesses. The key is to choose something you understand and can sustain. A cash flow source that requires too much of your time or attention may not be truly passive, but it's still valuable if it grows your income without depending solely on your labor. Linking cash flow to rewards. One powerful motivator is to link each lifestyle upgrade to a specific stream of cash flow. For example, you want a $100 a month gym membership. Create or buy an asset that produces $100 a month in income and let it pay for the membership. You want a $500 a month car payment. Build an asset that produces $500 a month and let it pay for the car. You want an annual $5,000 vacation. Create an asset that generates $5,000 a year and let it pay for the trip. This way, Every upgrade in your lifestyle is backed by permanent income, not by your job. The psychological shift. When you start thinking this way, you begin to see every raise and bonus as a tool for building independence instead of just a reason to celebrate. You'll notice that while most people treat extra income as disposable, you're treating it as capital, a resource to be invested in your freedom. Over time, this habit becomes automatic. You'll start asking yourself, what income stream can I build with this, instead of what can I buy with this? That one shift in thinking can change the entire trajectory of your financial life. The long-term impact. Imagine you receive $5,000 in extra income every year from raises, bonuses, or side hustles, and you invest it into cash flow sources that yield an average of 8% annually, reinvested. After 10 years, you could have over $72,000, generating nearly $6,000 a year in income. After 20 years, you could have over $247,000, generating nearly $20,000 a year, all from income increases you could have easily spent. Now imagine doing this with larger raises or multiple income boosts per year. The snowball becomes enormous, and the freedom it buys is priceless. Turning every income increase into a new stream of cash flow is not about denying yourself joy. It's about buying the ability to enjoy life without stress, without dependence, and without the constant pressure to keep earning. It's the difference between living paycheck to paycheck at $200,000 a year and living freely at $80,000 a year because your assets are doing the heavy lifting. The sooner you start, the faster you can watch your streams combine into rivers and your rivers into an ocean, until your life is powered by not a single paycheck, but a network of income sources that work for you every day for the rest of your life. Strategy number 3. Build multiple income streams. If there's one rule that every financially independent person lives by, it's this: never depend on a single source of income. It doesn't matter how big that source is, a high-paying job, a successful business, a lucrative contract. If it's your only stream, you're one event away from disaster. Companies downsize, markets shift, industries collapse, health problems strike, and when they do, a single stream can dry up overnight. The rich know this. That's why they build multiple income streams. They don't rely on one river of money, they create several, so if one slows down or stops, the others keep flowing. It's this diversification that gives them resilience, stability, and the ability to take risks without fear. Why multiple streams are essential? When you have multiple income streams, you have a built-in safety net. If one stream falters, the others can keep you afloat. This is why someone with 3 or 4 solid income sources can weather job loss, market downturns, or unexpected expenses far better than someone with just one. Multiple streams also accelerate wealth building. Each stream can be reinvested into creating more streams, creating a compounding effect that grows faster than any single income source ever could. Types of income streams. Not all streams are created equal, and you don't need to build them all at once. The goal is to combine different types so they complement each other and give you a balance of stability and growth. Here are the main categories. Active income, money you earn from your labor, like a job or freelance work. Reliable in the short term, but dependent on your time. Semi-passive income, requires some ongoing involvement, but not constant attention, like running an online store, managing rental properties, or operating a small side business. Passive income, money that comes in with little to no daily effort, such as dividends, royalties, or automated online products. The magic happens when you start stacking these streams so that your total income doesn't depend on any single source. How the rich build them? The wealthy rarely build multiple streams all at once. Instead, they master one, make it stable and self-sustaining, then move on to the next. They use the cash flow from existing streams to fund new ones, reducing risk and speeding up growth. For example, they might start with a job, active income, invest the surplus into dividend-paying stocks, passive income, use those dividends to help buy a rental property, semi-passive income, and then use the rental income to start an online business, another semi-passive income. The power of redundancy. Think of your income like the engines on an airplane. A single-engine plane is grounded if that engine fails. A plane with 4 engines can lose one and still fly safely. Multiple income streams are your engines. They keep you in the air even if one stops working. Real-world example. Let's look at 2 people earning $120,000 a year. Person A earns all $120,000 from their job. If they lose it, they drop to zero overnight. Person B earns $70,000 from their job, $30,000 from rental properties, $15,000 from dividends, and $5,000 from a small online course they created. If they lose their job, they still have $50,000 coming in, enough to cover basic living expenses while they figure out their next move. Who sleeps better at night? The answer is obvious. Finding your first new stream. The first step to building multiple streams is to identify your starting point. Look at your skills, interests, and available capital. Ask yourself, what could I start with minimal money but a lot of time and effort? What could I invest in that would start producing cash flow quickly? What market or industry do I understand well enough to create value in? Your first new stream doesn't have to be big. Even $100 a month in extra income is a start. What matters is building the habit and proving to yourself that you can create income beyond your primary job. Balancing risk and reward. Not every stream needs to be high risk, high reward. In fact, a balanced mix is best. A stable rental property might not double in value overnight, but it provides steady cash flow. A side business might have more upside, but could also fail. By combining different streams, you spread out your risk while still giving yourself room to grow. Time management for multiple streams. One challenge in building multiple income streams is managing your time. If you try to run several labor-intensive businesses at once, you'll burn out. That's why automation, delegation, and smart system design are essential. The rich focus on creating streams that require less and less of their personal time as they grow. They hire managers for their businesses, use property management companies for rentals, and automate their investments. This frees them to focus on strategy rather than constant execution. Reinvesting into new streams. Once a stream is running smoothly, don't just spend the profits. Reinvest them into creating another stream. This is how wealth multiplies. For example, if your rental property produces $1,000 a month after expenses, that $12,000 a year can be invested into dividend stocks, which then produce even more income. Over time, your streams start funding each other, and your network of income grows exponentially. The ultimate goal of building multiple income streams is to reach the point where your passive and semi-passive streams cover all your expenses. At that point, your active income becomes optional. You can choose to work not because you have to, but because you want to. Multiple income streams are not a luxury. They're a necessity for lasting financial security. They give you resilience against the unexpected, speed up your path to wealth, and create options that a single paycheck never could. The sooner you start building them, the sooner you can step off the tightrope of dependence and onto the solid ground of financial independence.
Common mistakes people make when trying to build cash flow. The concept of cash flow sounds simple. Invest in something that produces income and watch the money roll in. But in practice, many people stumble, lose money, or give up before they ever see meaningful results. Building cash flow is not just about buying assets, it's about buying the right assets at the right time in the right way and managing them wisely. Unfortunately, the path is littered with mistakes that can drain your capital and your confidence. Some are the result of impatience, others of inexperience, and many come from blindly following bad advice. If you know what to watch out for, you can avoid the traps that keep so many people stuck and broke. Mistake number 1: chasing high returns without understanding the risk. One of the most common errors is getting seduced by big numbers. A friend brags about a guaranteed 20% return. A YouTube ad promises to double your money in months. A flashy investment brochure claims the opportunity is once in a lifetime. The problem? High returns almost always come with high risk. If you don't understand exactly how the investment makes money and what could cause it to lose money, you're gambling, not investing. The rich are willing to take risks, but they are calculated risks. They know that if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Mistake number 2: investing in something you don't understand. Warren Buffett has a famous rule: never invest in a business you can't understand. Yet people constantly pour money into complex investments they can't explain in plain language. They buy stocks because a friend said it's a sure thing. They buy rental property without knowing how to screen tenants or handle repairs. They start a business in an industry they've never studied. If you can't clearly explain how an investment works, how it makes money, and what the risks are, you're not ready to put money into it. Learn first, invest second. Mistake number 3: overestimating passive income. Many beginners underestimate the work involved in creating passive income. Rental properties need tenants, maintenance, and management. Online businesses require marketing, updates, and customer service. Even dividend stocks need monitoring. True passive income is rare. Most cash flow sources are semi-passive. They require some effort to start and maintain. If you expect money to flow in forever with zero involvement, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Mistake number 4: failing to account for expenses. It's easy to look at the gross income from an asset and get excited. A rental property brings in $2,000 a month in rent, so you think, that's $24,000 a year. But you forget about mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, repairs, vacancies, and management fees. The same happens with businesses. People see $10,000 in monthly revenue and forget about advertising costs, software subscriptions, payroll, and taxes. The rich focus on net income, not gross income. They care about what's left after all expenses are paid, because that's the real cash flow. Mistake number 5: putting all your eggs in one basket. Many people make their first successful investment and then double down completely. If they make money on one rental property, they buy 5 more in the same neighborhood. If they make money on a certain type of stock, they put all their capital into it. The problem? If something goes wrong, a local market crash, a new regulation, a business failure, they can lose it all at once. Diversification is the safety net that keeps a setback from becoming a disaster. Mistake number 6: ignoring liquidity. Liquidity is how quickly you can turn an asset into cash without losing value. Some investments, like stocks or REITs, can be sold quickly. Others, like real estate or private businesses, can take months or years to sell. If you put all your money into illiquid assets, you might find yourself asset-rich but cash-poor, unable to cover emergencies or take advantage of new opportunities. The rich keep a portion of their portfolio in liquid assets for flexibility. Mistake number 7: falling for hot tips and hype. Markets are full of noise. Friends, family, media, and social media influencers will constantly tell you about the next big thing. Cryptocurrencies, penny stocks, speculative tech companies, obscure collectibles, they all have their hype cycles. Following hype often means you're buying at the peak when everyone else is excited. By the time the excitement fades, prices drop and you're left with losses. The rich don't chase hype. They buy based on research, value, and timing, not emotion. Mistake number 8, being impatient. Building real, sustainable cash flow takes time. Many people quit too early because they expect instant results. They start a side business, and when it doesn't make a profit in the first few months, they give up. They invest in dividend stocks and get frustrated that the payments are small at first. The truth is, cash flow builds like a snowball. The first dollars are small, but they grow as you reinvest and compound. The rich have the patience to wait for their assets to mature, knowing that steady, reliable income is worth the wait. Mistake number 9, over-leveraging. Leverage, using borrowed money to invest, can be a powerful tool, but it's also dangerous when misused. Some people borrow too much, too quickly, assuming the cash flow will always cover the debt. If interest rates rise, tenants move out, or business slows, their income can drop while their debt payments stay the same. The rich use leverage strategically, with buffers for bad times, and they never borrow more than they can safely manage. Mistake number 10, treating cash flow as spending money. Finally, one of the biggest mistakes is spending all the cash flow as soon as it comes in. If your rental property produces $500 a month and you spend it all on dinners and shopping, you've stopped the growth cycle. The rich reinvest most or all of their cash flow back into more assets. This is how they turn one property into 10, one stock portfolio into a larger one, and one small income stream into several. Spending comes later, after the assets are producing far more than they need. Avoiding these mistakes doesn't guarantee success, but it gives you a massive advantage. Cash flow is the engine of wealth, but only if you build it wisely, manage it carefully, and protect it from common pitfalls. Learn from the errors of others, and you'll move toward financial freedom with fewer setbacks and a much smoother ride.
The formula for controlling bills. Bills are not just numbers on a statement. They are commitments you've made to give part of your income away every single month, without fail. Some of them are essential, like housing, utilities, and insurance. Others are purely optional, disguised as necessities because you've gotten used to them. But regardless of category, bills all have one thing in common. They reduce your freedom. The more bills you have, the higher your baseline cost of living. And the higher that baseline, the more income you must generate before you can even begin building wealth. That's why controlling your bills is not about being frugal for the sake of frugality. It's about lowering the threshold to financial freedom. Why most people fail at controlling bills. For many, bills are something they accept rather than question. A new subscription service? Sure, it's only $10 a month. An upgraded phone plan? Why not? It's only $15 more. Each decision feels small, but over time, these only moments accumulate into hundreds or thousands of dollars in fixed monthly obligations. The problem is that bills operate on autopilot. Once you've committed, they keep charging your account without requiring further permission. You may not even notice them anymore until you add up the total and realize just how much of your income is gone before you even start the month. The 3-part formula for controlling bills. If you want to take control, you need a clear, repeatable process. Here's the formula. Identify every bill, make the invisible visible, evaluate necessity and value, decide what truly deserves to stay, reduce, eliminate, or replace. Take decisive action to lower your fixed costs. Step 1. Identify every bill. The first step is to get brutally honest about your commitments. Open your bank statements, credit card records, and payment apps. List every recurring charge, housing, utilities, insurance, loans, subscriptions, memberships, services, and anything else that shows up regularly. Don't rely on memory. Many people are shocked to discover old subscriptions they forgot about. memberships they never use, or services they didn't even know were still active. You can't control what you haven't identified. Step 2. Evaluate necessity and value. Once you have the list, ask 2 critical questions for each bill. Do I need this to live or to earn money? If the answer is no, it's optional. Does this bill deliver value greater than its cost? If not, it's waste. Some bills are non-negotiable, like rent or basic utilities. Others are negotiable if you're willing to adjust your lifestyle. Still others are entirely unnecessary, existing only out of habit or convenience. Step 3. Reduce, eliminate, or replace. For each bill, choose one of these actions. Reduce. Negotiate a lower rate, downgrade to a cheaper plan, or switch providers. Eliminate. Cancel services you don't use or truly don't need. Replace. Find a lower-cost alternative that still provides similar value. You'd be surprised how often companies will lower your rate just because you ask. Threatening to switch providers can lead to instant discounts. Bundling services can cut costs. Even something as simple as paying annually instead of monthly can save you a significant percentage. The 30% reduction challenge. One powerful goal is to reduce your total fixed bills by 30%. For example, if your monthly obligations total $3,000, aim to bring that down to $2,100. That $900 freed each month can be redirected into investments that generate cash flow, turning bills into assets over time. Avoiding bill creep. Just like lifestyle creep, bill creep happens when you slowly add new obligations without removing old ones. The best defense is a one-in, one-out rule. If you take on a new bill, eliminate an existing one of equal or greater value. Another defense is the annual audit. Once a year, go through your entire list of bills and repeat the 3-step formula. Life changes, needs shift, and what was valuable last year might not be worth paying for now. Automating without losing awareness. Automation is great for avoiding late fees and protecting your credit score, but it can also make you blind to how much you're spending. When bills are paid automatically, they don't feel as real. That's why it's important to review your automated payments monthly, even if you don't plan to change them. Awareness is the first step to control. The psychological benefit of lower bills. When your fixed monthly obligations are low, your entire life feels lighter. You can handle income fluctuations without panic. You can take time off work without fear. You can invest more aggressively because your survival costs are low. Lower bills mean lower stress, and lower stress means better decision-making. From bill payer to asset builder. Every dollar you free from bills is a dollar you can use to build assets. If you cancel a $50 subscription, that's $600 a year that can go into dividend stocks, paying you every quarter instead of draining you every month. If you refinance a loan and save $200 a month, that's $2,400 a year you can put toward real estate or business ventures. The shift happens when you stop thinking of bills as just the cost of living and start seeing them as opportunities to fund your path to financial independence. Controlling bills is not about deprivation, it's about liberation. It's about taking back the part of your income that you've been giving away automatically. When you follow the formula, identify, evaluate, and reduce, you shrink your financial obligations, widen your surplus, and accelerate the day when your cash flow exceeds your bills. And that, ultimately, is the point of all of this: freedom.
The formula for increasing cash flow. Cash flow is the engine that powers financial independence. Without it, you're always dependent on your next paycheck. With it, you gain the freedom to choose how you spend your time, take risks without fear, and build lasting wealth. But here's the truth most people miss. Increasing cash flow is not about working harder or chasing every possible income opportunity. It's about applying a repeatable formula
that consistently transforms your surplus income into income-producing assets. When you have a system, cash flow growth becomes predictable instead of random. Why cash flow should come before lifestyle? The majority of people flip the order. They increase their lifestyle first and hope that cash flow will somehow catch up later. But in reality, lifestyle upgrades consume the surplus that could have been used to create cash flow in the first place. The wealthy do the opposite. They prioritize building cash flow before they allow themselves to expand their lifestyle. Once their passive income is high enough, they use it to fund their upgrades, knowing the expenses are permanently covered. This order matters because it ensures your lifestyle is built on a stable foundation, not on the uncertainty of active income. The 5-step cash flow formula. Here's the process the rich use, and you can too. Create surplus capital. Spend less than you earn to generate investable funds. Direct surplus capital into assets. Choose income-producing investments that match your knowledge and risk tolerance. Reinvest the earnings. Compound your cash flow by putting the income back into more assets. Diversify streams. Spread your cash flow across different types of assets for stability. Let assets fund lifestyle. Only upgrade lifestyle when cash flow can pay for it without touching your principal. Step 1. Create surplus capital. This is where most people fail. Without surplus capital, you have nothing to invest. This is why controlling bills and avoiding lifestyle creep are essential. Every dollar saved from expenses is a dollar that can be turned into a little worker, a unit of capital that can go out and earn more for you. If you can free even $500 a month, that's $6,000 a year to invest. Over a decade, invested wisely, that can grow into a substantial cash flow machine. Step 2. Direct surplus into assets. Not all assets are created equal. For cash flow, you want assets that pay you regularly. Dividend-paying stocks, rental real estate, REITs or real estate investment trusts, online businesses or digital products, royalties from creative work, peer-to-peer lending or private lending. The asset you choose should fit your level of expertise and the amount of time you're willing to commit. Step 3. Reinvest the earnings. This is where compounding works its magic. Instead of spending the cash flow from your assets, use it to buy more assets. This creates a snowball effect. Each investment produces income, which funds more investments, which produce even more income. For example, if a rental property produces $300 a month, that's $3,600 a year. Reinvested into dividend stocks at 5%, that's another $180 a year in passive income, and the cycle continues. Step 4. Diversify streams. Relying on one type of asset for all your cash flow is risky. Markets change, regulations shift, and industries evolve. A balanced portfolio of cash flow sources ensures that if one slows down, the others can pick up the slack. The wealthy aim for a mix, perhaps 40% in real estate, 40% in dividend stocks, and 20% in other ventures like royalties or private lending. The exact mix depends on your personal risk tolerance and goals. Step 5. Let assets fund lifestyle. This is the reward for discipline. Once your cash flow reaches a point where it covers the cost of a desired lifestyle upgrade, you can add it without risking your financial stability. Want a $500 a month car payment? Wait until your assets are producing $500 a month in extra income. Want a $5,000 vacation every year? Wait until your assets produce $5,000 a year in surplus. When you follow this rule, every upgrade is permanent because it's funded by ongoing income, not by hope or debt. Common pitfalls to avoid. spending the earnings too soon. It's tempting to enjoy your cash flow immediately, but doing so slows the compounding process. Over-leveraging. Borrowing too much to chase high cash flow can backfire if income dips. Ignoring maintenance. Assets like rental properties and businesses require upkeep to keep producing. Neglect them and the cash flow will disappear. The cash flow growth mindset. Increasing cash flow is a mindset as much as it is a strategy. Every time you receive money, you should be thinking, how can I make this produce more income? This habit of turning money into more money is what separates the wealthy from everyone else. When you adopt the formula, create surplus, invest, reinvest, diversify, and let assets fund lifestyle, you create a self-sustaining system. Over time, the growth becomes exponential, and the need to trade time for money fades away. In the next part, we'll explore the daily and weekly habits the wealthy use to protect and grow their cash flow over decades. These habits are the glue that holds the entire system together and keeps the money flowing, even in uncertain times.
Daily habits of the rich to maintain cash flow. Building cash flow is only half the battle. The other half is keeping it alive, healthy, and growing for decades. Many people think wealth is created by one big win, a lucky investment, a business sale, or a windfall. But for most wealthy people, lasting financial independence is built and preserved through consistent daily habits. These habits act like the maintenance routines for a well-running machine. They don't require massive effort all at once. Instead, they rely on steady, intentional actions that compound over time. When you look closely at how the rich live, you'll notice they treat their finances like a living organism, something that must be fed, monitored, protected, and improved every day. Habit number 1, reviewing financial position regularly. The rich know where their money is, what it's doing, and how it's performing. They check their numbers the way athletes check their stats, not obsessively, but with enough frequency to spot trends and problems early. Daily or weekly, they'll glance at account balances, recent transactions, and investment performance. This isn't about micromanaging every dollar, but about staying connected to the flow of money in and out of their life. They understand that what gets measured gets managed. Habit number 2, tracking cash flow like a business. Wealthy individuals treat their personal finances like a company's financial statement. Income is revenue. Expenses are operating costs. Cash flow is profit. They track not only how much money comes in, but also where it comes from and whether each source is stable, growing, or declining. If a stream is underperforming, they adjust, reinvest, or replace it. If a stream is thriving, they look for ways to scale it. Habit number 3, protecting assets before chasing new ones. Before adding a new investment, the rich make sure their current ones are secure. They insure properties, set aside reserves for maintenance, and keep an emergency fund for business or personal setbacks. They understand that a single, unprotected loss can wipe out years of progress. That's why they prioritize asset protection, legal structures, insurance, diversification, before they even think about expansion. Habit number 4, reinvesting automatically. Many wealthy people set up systems to reinvest income without thinking about it. Dividends are automatically used to buy more shares. Rental income is partially set aside for the next property. Profits from a business are channeled into other ventures. By making reinvestment automatic, they remove the temptation to spend the income prematurely. Over time, this habit massively accelerates the growth of their cash flow. Habit number 7, networking for opportunities. Opportunities for new cash flow often come from relationships, not just research. The rich regularly connect with other investors, entrepreneurs, and professionals. They attend events, join groups, and maintain contact with people in industries they care about. This isn't just socializing, it's building a web of information and access. When a great deal comes along,
It often flows through networks before it ever hits the public market. Habit number 8, staying educated. Markets change, industries evolve. The investments that worked 10 years ago might not work today. That's why wealthy people make education a lifelong habit. They read books, follow industry news, take courses, and consult experts. Even if they delegate the management of some assets, they stay informed enough to make strategic decisions. For them, ignorance is the fastest way to lose money. Habit number 7, keeping expenses in check. Even after reaching financial independence, the rich watch their expenses. They're not penny pinchers, but they understand that every unnecessary bill is a leak in the system. They audit their lifestyle regularly, making sure that increases in spending are intentional and sustainable. They know that controlling expenses is as important as increasing income when it comes to keeping cash flow strong. Habit number 8, setting daily or weekly financial goals. They break down big wealth goals into smaller, actionable steps. Instead of vaguely saying, "I want to increase my cash flow," they might set a goal to research one new investment opportunity each week, or to contact 3 potential partners for a joint venture. These small goals keep momentum alive and ensure consistent progress. Habit number 9, reviewing and adjusting strategy. At least monthly, the rich review their financial strategy. They check which income streams are performing well, which ones need attention, and whether their asset allocation still matches their goals. They are flexible, willing to pivot when circumstances change, but disciplined enough not to chase every new trend. Maintaining and growing cash flow is not glamorous. It's about consistency, discipline, and attention to detail. The rich succeed because they make these habits part of their daily lives, not just something they do when they feel like it. Once you adopt these habits, you'll find that cash flow stops being something you have to fight for and starts being something that flows naturally because you've built the systems and routines to support it indefinitely. Conclusion: choose chains or choose wings. Every financial decision you make moves you in one of 2 directions, toward chains or toward wings. Chains are the commitments, bills, and obligations that tie you to your paycheck, to your job, to the need to constantly trade your time for money. Wings are the assets, cash flow, and choices that set you free, allowing you to live life on your own terms. Most people don't realize they're making this choice every day. They think the big decision is whether to take a job, start a business, or make an investment. But the truth is, it's the small daily choices that matter most. What you do with your next raise, your next bonus, your next extra $100. Every time you feed bills instead of assets, you add another link to your chains. Every time you feed assets instead of bills, you add a feather to your wings. The illusion of progress. It's easy to mistake busyness for progress. You can work long hours, earn promotions, and upgrade your lifestyle, yet still be no closer to freedom than you were years ago. That's because income without cash flow is just a treadmill. The speed may change, but you're still running in place. Freedom doesn't come from what you earn. It comes from what you keep and how you use it. If your lifestyle grows in exact proportion to your income, you'll always need the next paycheck, no matter how high your salary goes. The simplicity of the choice. The choice is not complicated. Every time money enters your life, ask one question. Will this decision tie me down or set me free? If it creates a new bill without creating new income, it's a chain. If it creates new income without increasing bills, it's a wing. Chains make you dependent. Wings make you independent. The more wings you have, the higher you can fly, and the less you fear the storms of life, because your flight doesn't depend on perfect weather. Why most people choose chains without knowing it. Society celebrates chains disguised as success. The luxury car, the oversized house, the expensive vacation. These are often funded by debt and ongoing obligations. They look like wings from the outside, but in reality, they weigh people down. Advertising fuels this by selling the dream of instant upgrades. Friends and social media reinforce it by showcasing the highlights of lifestyles they may not even be able to afford. Without realizing it, people chain themselves to higher bills with every reward they give themselves. The courage to choose wings. Choosing wings means resisting the pull of instant gratification. It means delaying certain pleasures so you can fund assets that will pay for those pleasures later, permanently. It's not about deprivation, it's about strategy. When you choose wings, you build a future where you can take a month off without panic, where you can walk away from a toxic job, where you can fund your children's education without debt, where you can retire decades earlier if you want to. Your blueprint for flight. Over the past 13 sections, we've laid out the steps. Keep lifestyle growth slower than income growth, turn every income increase into a new stream of cash flow, build multiple income streams for security, avoid the common mistakes that kill cash flow, control bills with a clear formula, increase cash flow with a repeatable system, maintain and grow cash flow with daily habits. These are not theoretical ideas. They're practical, proven strategies used by those who've already broken free. If you apply even a fraction of them consistently, you'll feel the chains loosen and the wings start to grow. The point of freedom. Freedom is not about never working again, unless that's what you want. It's about choice. It's about deciding how you spend your time, who you work with, and what you work on. It's about being able to say no without fear and yes without hesitation. Money doesn't buy happiness, but freedom buys the space to create it. And freedom comes from cash flow, not from a bigger paycheck alone. Your next step. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Start with one decision. Cancel one unnecessary bill and redirect that money into an asset. Take a portion of your next raise and invest it before you spend a dime on lifestyle. Research one new source of cash flow this month. Every small action is a choice between chains and wings, and over time, those small actions compound into a life that is either trapped or free. In the end, the question is simple. When you look back years from now, will you see a life built on bills and obligations, or one lifted by streams of income that carried you wherever you wanted to go? The decision is yours. Choose wisely, choose wings.